Something here which needs a quick mention in Lightwave for those who aren't familiar or aware of it, and so as you don't get caught out by it, is Lightwave's use of fractional frames. If you open Lightwave's main options here, main preferences, you'll see that there's this checkbox there for fractional frames, and you can see my timeline down here changing when you click it on and off from just, flat numbers, whole numbers to floating point numbers. Obviously, of course, what happens in Lightwave, you go to a keyframe like 10 here and you create a key, and you go to like frame 30 and you create a key, and that's all grand. Your keys are on whole numbered frames. The trick, of course, is that the keys are not really on whole numbered frames. They're at certain points in time. So at this case, at 24 frames a second, a key at frame 24 is a key at 1 second, a key at 30 is 1 point something seconds, etc. What you notice, of course, if you shift the frame rate here, so I'll change it up to 30, is that that key there that was previously at 30 or at 1 point whatever seconds now appears to be falling between frames. Frame 37 is before it, frame 38 is after it. It's kept the same point in time, but because of the shifting frame rate, it's now at a fractional frame position. Same with this, previously 10 numbered frame. That's now halfway between 12 and 13 there. What this means is that, I can't actually put my time slider on it. So if I'm wanting to edit the position at that keyframe, you see I try and drag, note that's created a new key at 12. If I come after to 13, try and drag, note that's a new key at 13. Because obviously these are different points in time. Also, of course, I can't delete the key here because there isn't one at either 12 or 13. The only way to get to those frames is either, of course, in the graph editor, where you can just select them, just like this, and you see that they seem to, if you look at the frame numbering here, read as frame 13 or frame 38. They're not, those are just the closest whole number frames to them. However, if we turn on fractional frames, then what we see here in Graph Editor is, aha, now it shows you the fraction, so that's at frame 12.5 and this one is at 37.5. Now, of course, you can actually get your playhead to those exact frames and modify them, delete them, or whatnot as you see fit. Of course, if you're just using the left-right keys here to advance the time slider, you'll see that it still jumps to whole numbered keyframes. You have to use Shift and arrow, or of course the, little arrow markers that exist over here on the play controls to get to those keys. So what does all this mean? Well, generally, when you're in the process of creating animation, fractional frames are bad. Why? Because of course it's very easy to wind up a tiny fraction off a frame, and you wind up with these sort of double frames like this next to one another, which appear to be at almost the same time, but of course they're not. The only time you really want to be working in fractional frames as an animator is if, after the completion of an animation, you need to shift the frame rate for final output, and you want to comb through and make any tiny little corrections that might need making as a result of that frame rate shift. Essentially doing a subframe tween or an interframe tween. The rest of the time you want to make sure that they are off whilst you're actually knocking in keyframes, and that way you'll always get properly spaced integer keys like this. The reason it's worth a solid mention is this. Often when working in Lightwave, you're switching your viewport around to different views to look at things from different angles. Now you can of course use the drop down here, but for speed and ease, and once you're familiar with Lightwave, everyone just has a tendency to use the numeric keypad here, 1 to go to front view, 3 to side, 4 perspective, etc. And that's great. However, when you have the graph editor open, and the graph editor is the active window, the 3 key is a shortcut for turning on fractional frames. I can't tell you the number of times over the years I've been, working, animating something, got the graph editor open, I want to go to the side view, I hit 3, and because I haven't jumped back to the main Lightwave interface, I wind up going into fractional frame mode. You sort of don't notice it immediately. You're like, what's going on? Click, click, click. Hit 3, oh fine, there's my side view, and you sort of forget or fail to notice that your frames have gone fractional. So there it is. Keep an eye out for it. Be careful about it.